Hello and welcome to another episode of Think About It with Osita Ifezue. Thank you for tuning in. Today I have a serial entrepreneur who has been doing quite a lot in the digital space in Nigeria, Adeshina Adewumi. Welcome to Think About It with Osita Ifezue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osita. Great to be here. Great to be on this platform sharing insights. And I look forward to engaging with all those who will be joining us and listening to this afterwards.
Oh, grand, grand. Thank you so much. Now, tell us about yourself, basically. That's where we should start. Who is Adeshina Adewumi?
So Adeshina Adewumi wears multiple hats. I love to first see myself as a family man. I'm a father
Okay.
of three lovely kids. I have a beautiful wife who has been very supportive. And when you go off the family side, I'm a business owner, the founder of Trade Lender, and also the chief executive officer today. Trade Lender basically is a digital bank out there to support small and medium scale businesses. Is a known fact, not just in Africa, not just across emerging market, that small and medium scale businesses contribute to, the majority of jobs, the great percentage of jobs that we have across every economy. But across Africa, this potential has been less focused on, less tapped, and that is why we are actually in this space trying to solve to empower every business owners, giving them equal opportunity to be able to leverage access to inclusive finance that can help them scale and create new jobs for every economy and communities that they kind of operate in.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I must imagine it's a very tough space you're playing in for many factors. Nigeria must be a challenging place to do any kind of digital business. So can you tell a bit? So what were some of the challenges that you faced when this idea came to you, and how did the idea come about in the beginning?
All right, thank you very much for that question. So in 2014, I joined the bank. I used to lecture in Alikma. I did a bit of stint also with University of Ilorin. But I always wanted to work in the corporate space because I believe that many years, afterwards, maybe 30 years from now or 20 years from now, I will still go back into the academic space to actually lecture. But I wanted to have hands-on practical experience. So I joined Stanbic IBTC Asset Management in 2014, where I was kind of exposed to the corporate world, the rudiments of actually building within the corporate space. Before long, I was exposed to the use of technology, where I was instrumental to working and leveraging with different partners like InterSwitch, NIPS. Those days we had what we call NIPS 1.0. I'm sure today has been upgraded far better than what it was back then. And that actually, helped us to be able to automate the process for our direct debit for the Stanbic IBTC mutual fund. While also working there, I kind of worked with the investment management team, as well as also the business development, representing the organization across various radio programs. And that kind of gave me quick insight into the business space and the business world as a whole. Got accelerated promotion where I then moved on to Stanbic IBTC Bank, second in charge of everything payments and collections. Now much more exposed to App Zone, which we now have as Zone today in the fintech ecosystem in Nigeria. Worked with InterSwitch, Remita. That's when the new administration kind of made the Remita as the sole payment for the government. So all those exposures kind of opened my mind to the possibilities of leveraging technology for empowering businesses across the ecosystem. So fast forward to 2019, I started out One Kiosk, which was actually to build and consolidate access to market for these businesses where they have online storefront. But with the COVID-19, we were empowered by the government to be, one of those platforms where we could move freely and ensure that every home had products that they needed to survive through the COVID pandemic. We leveraged on this, worked with the various businesses that we had within our pool to make sure and map different needs across different regions, specifically in Lagos. We worked with different NGOs also to be able to make sure deliveries were done and also, some of the support incentives that were made. But one major unifier across these business owners that we discovered, apart from the supply chain being broken, was the fact that most of them did not have the products at every point in time to be able to meet the demands. And when you dig further, you find out that they actually don't have money to restock
Hmm.
or to even buy as much as possible. So we decided to start, testing with a few people to say, oh, can we support them with a few finance? And by 2021, this then became what we have today as trade lender, whereby we not only support these people with capacity access to market, but we actually give them credit to be able to scale their business. And that is how we actually launched into this space. It was quite difficult, because again, you have to keep looking for the next people who are going to give you money so that you can give it to these business owners. Because again, people don't trust, that you have the capacity to do that initially. But
Yeah.
over the last 3 years, which was going to be 4 years in May this year, we've been able to evolve, whereby we have financial institutions, asset managers, banks, now trusting us, to work with us in terms of funds. We are also working with different non-governmental organizations to target specific niche of business owners to support them and to be able to boost economic productivity for them.
Right. So from what I'm hearing, that means basically there's a lot of support from the government in terms of, building these digital infrastructures uh, right now. Or what would you say
Just
about
to confirm, I made mention more of non-governmental organizations.
non-governmental organizations?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In
So,
terms of during the COVID, we had obviously the government support
uh,
and they do, in a way. Yeah,
so you get more support from the private sector, that means, so to say.
that's correct.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I see that you've helped 260,000 small and medium scale businesses. And it's boasting about, so to say, about $3.9 million or
Six
in
million actually, 6 million
still
equivalent.
today, because on
Yeah.
your website they showed about for 3.9 million, but $6 million, that's kind of a lot of money. And the question is, we do not have a good credit rating system in a way that when you give money, what are the risks that you have to bear? And how do you manage when people default? Because this is I would say, probably a very volatile industry to play in, even though it might be very profitable. But the idea is, you kind of bear a lot of risk, if I might, if I can imagine, right?
Yeah, so when we started out, we started out just as a lending company, but we quickly discovered that you can't just be a lending company. You need to be able to, protect yourself and also end to end have control as regards to, how the money flows in and how the money goes out. So we integrated to become what we have today, which is a full-fledged digital bank for small businesses where bank accounts are created for these small business owners, dedicated for their transaction flow. We've built on our algorithm, which also helps to attach credit scores to these small business owners in partnership, obviously, with the credit bureaus. So those that already have an existing bureau identifier, this feeds into our system. And with that, we're able to then, decide how much we need to disburse. For numbers' sake, from 2021 to date, our numbers has never, in terms of non-performing, has never gone above 7%. But if you look at from 2024 to date, then you're looking at a zero point 0.3 non-performing. It doesn't mean that default will still not happen. It's something that sometimes you cannot, there are business factors or microeconomic factors that you don't have control over. There are even delays sometimes that is not caused by the business owner, maybe perhaps the person they've made supply to, or for example, the current FX, where people planned, to buy cocoa at maybe 1,700, or even bought at even 1,700 from the farmers. And today, dollars is about 1,415. Nobody's going to sell. Everybody's going to hold, hoping that the dollar goes up.
Mm,
That is a absolute disruption to the supply chain, because what then happens is the supplier who supply those businesses or those companies, organizations, is not going to get paid. A PO that is
yeah.
supposed to be 30 days will end up maybe becoming 45 days or 60 days. That is absolute, disruption to the stuff. But the beauty of it is this: you're still going to get your money because it's a sector that is performing, and is actually
Yeah.
tied to product. So one thing we've also been able to do is to tile our financing to risk sectors. So FMCG sectors, retail, agricultural sectors, which that there's a product. So inventory financing, making a supply either for any of the products, the grains, the cocoa, or sorghum, or any of those products which literally are not really perishable, or have a longer shelf life in terms of the supply, or perhaps people who are actually working with the likes of Coca-Cola. There's always a 6 month shelf life, or even 9 months to 12 months, or Nestle or Unilever. All those products are things that we actively finance in terms of working capital financing for inventories, or we then focus on the agricultural value chain or general trading. And we've seen it to work because, again, even if there's a form of disruption, like I illustrated, you're sure that within a very short period of time, you're going to get back your money. That helps you to be able to manage non-performing exposures. And again, technology, leveraging on technology to screen out those
Mm.
who you shouldn't even in the first place give out money. That has significantly helped us to keep our non-performing low.
That's really nice. That's good to hear because this is one angle I've always thought about when you think about the digital sector and digital fintech per se. And this kind of brings me to this idea again that a lot of fintechs in Nigeria are actually experiencing a lot of problems. OPay was one example, and the likes of them. Uh, in terms of the future, because we know that there's still a lot of potential in this industry. What do you think are some of these things that could be done to strengthen businesses like you and to make sure that, things like the OPay going bust and people don't get their money back it doesn't happen anymore?
Okay, when you say okay, people not getting the money, perhaps I'm
Because
not,
there was
I'm not.
it was on the media there, some time ago that there was the difficulty people getting back the money. It could be wrong, but please, if you know anything about that, please tell us.
Okay, so there's usually disruptions, right? And there's an increasing cyber, security breaches here and there. But this is not actually unique to fintechs. This
Yeah.
happens almost every day in the banking sector, right? From 2014 that I've even joined the sector or the system. It has always happened even before I was born.
Mm,
Fraudulent cases within the banking traditional businesses, are things that happens almost every day. It's just that they're able to manage their communication better, perhaps, than some fintechs, especially those who don't have proper systems and structures. So
mm,
yeah, there are challenges that happen. There are security breaches that happen. How well that organization is able to manage PR, how well they're able to manage that people are able to get back their money is what makes the difference. Even we, I don't want to say we are small because at least we've been in business for over 4 years and we've also become gradually an household name in the SME space. We've had, cases whereby, there are attempted system breach. But what we do is to quickly buffer with our own flow, pending when we are, sorting out whatever we need to sort out, and ensure that
mm,
customers' money is not in any way affected and people are able to continue their free flow of transactions. But again, to say that that won't happen, you've had cases whereby traditional banks, I don't want to make names or name them, for a whole week, people couldn't get any money out of them. In fact, two, three cases of them within the last 2, 3 months, whereby people couldn't,
mm.
like some even 2 weeks, People couldn't remove money. People go to their branches. Nothing. I still read one a few days ago whereby people had to storm their branches. These are popular names, but again, for the purpose,
Yeah,
I can't mention their names, you know.
yeah,
So,
and
I just want to clarify that part, right? To say that, things like that would always happen.
mm,
Mitigations, corporate governance, structure, systems, processes, needs obviously to be enhanced. But I think fintechs has come to stay. The traditional
mm,
system has lost touch in terms of support, in terms of empathy, in terms of tailor-made banking, financial solutions for the emerging users. If you look at the current demographics, a whole lot of people don't want to come into the branch. You don't want to visit any branch. You just want to be able to enjoy seamless transaction without any interference of having to come into a bank, and all that. And if you look
mm,
at it even on a global scale, right, some developed countries are still lacking or are still, playing catch up, even in this area. So I think
yeah,
fintechs have come to stay.
mm,
How were they able to embrace emerging technologies, emerging tools like AI, machine learning, and others, which has also come to stay, is what will also make the difference to who stays in business and who does not stay in business. But again, with AI, with emerging technologies, the fundamentals are the fundamentals. Great customer service, great customer experience, support system to ensure issues when they occur are resolved timely would also kind of continue to help those that are committed to this to stay in business. In terms of corporate and or let's just say policies from the
mm,
government, I think government also needs to embrace the fintechs and create a conducive atmosphere to regulate as well as also to enable innovations to strive in their various countries and communities. Um, in Africa, the banks need to be able to learn to embrace the fintech rather than trying to do it by themselves. Because most times they spend tons of money and they get very, very little results. Also
mm,
in the countries, the UK, Canada, US, you also see this happening whereby there's a kind of oligopoly or monopoly whereby the banks don't want fintechs to emerge. But again, you've seen it that whether it's in the case study of Revolut or is in the case study of different other guys in North America region, they will always strive like Mercury, like Brex, all of them have strived and they've done or outperformed to a very large measure than some of the traditional banks. So for me, fintech
mm.
have come to stay. um, Innovations will continue to be there. We as regulators and also stakeholders in the ecosystem just needs to be able to find a way to work together to promote this.
You are quite an evangelist for fintech. So I like that, and it's something that I understand how it's gonna shape the future, and with the evolution of AI, finding a way to kind of merge it. I'm sure we are doing quite well. But this brings me to now that question that I want to ask: How does what you do impact the ordinary person on the street, the small woman who probably might not be able to get a loan from the bank because we know the interest rates in the banks are sometimes in double digits. For some of these small scale businesses, it's a no-go. So how have you been able to kind of impact some of the individuals or businesses that you've helped in terms of, are you able to share any special stories, of scaling or, some challenges that was overcome, in the process of doing business?
All right, thank you very much again. So the truth is, there's always this perceived notion that the reason why these small businesses or the mama Rukayat or the mama Obi in the in the informal space don't go to the bank is because their interest rates are high. That's actually not true.
Yeah.
They don't really care
And
about
if you, for the context of our international viewer, who is the mama, because me and you understand what we are talking
it.
about, but for the
So
international,
the mom and pop stores. there's
Yes.
always that belief that they really, are so fixed at focusing on the rates. They
Mm,
just want to be able to have a tailor-made access to finance for their business. For some
mm,
of them, they don't care, if the interest rate is 30%. Can they get it as at when due? Because again, they are also battling or fighting against microeconomic factors. Something that is $10 today can become $20 tomorrow. Some products are seasonal. Can they stock up now so that way when the product is $20, they can actually make over 100% profit. So them paying you a $30 or 30% is really not their bone of contention.
mm,
Why some of them don't want interest-based facilities, especially when you look at it from the emerging markets in Africa. There are some who, because of their religion, cannot take those facilities because they want it to be a partnership or a kind of tailor-made access, inclusive finance. And that
mm,
is what we have been able to do. We've been able to build out tailor-made access and inclusive financing for every business owner. Our mission basically is to be able to give equal opportunity for every business owner to be able to build their business and then contribute to shared economic prosperity. So, what does this really translate to? Is a case of Belikis, who basically, started out, producing hibiscus flower, in many years back, struggled through those years and then discovered trade lender, and then with partnership, with trade lender, she has been able to build capacity. She now has those products, our product, across 100 distribution stores in Nigeria, in the UK, in the US, and across various other North American regions.
yeah.
How do you contextualize this? It means that she has experienced growth. What that has done for her is that she has also been able to build capacity to be able to support our parents, our family, our children, and by helping to support our children and maybe sending them to school, the right school, they would in
Mm.
turn in the next few years become good citizens for Nigeria and for Africa and for the globe. So it's
Hopefully.
effect.
Yeah.
The ripple effect, the impact, trickles down. But that's not all. She also needs people. She currently employs almost close to 14 people, both full time and also in contract basis, part time for production. So it simply means that she's also creating jobs. But let's piggyback a bit. She's also getting a product from these farmers, right? Which she then produces. What is she doing? She's also giving those farmers quick access to market.
Mm.
Or is it a case of Obi in a particular market called Tejo market in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, who has been able to expand, his outlet from one to three today? What it simply means is Obi can't be in three shops within same market. The market is quite
Mm.
big. It means that Obi needs to employ somebody from the village, from his hometown, you know. And when he employs somebody from his
Mm.
hometown, that person also has family that is going to be taken care of, right?
Mm.
And every salary that he pays, the people that he brought from his hometown or from his village, it simply means that they are also giving back to their people. So
So there's a ripple,
in the
the
case of
ripple effect.
Canada, I'm just trying
Mm.
to give practical examples, right? Is it a case of
Mm.
Calagas who have been able to build 4 gas plants? Today, Calagas is going to 6 gas plants within the next few months. From 2021 to date, they've grown capacity to 4 gas plants, you know? So if you look at it, right, it's really a systematic growth. And how we measure our own impact is through the jobs we create, through the programs of financial literacy and inclusion that we do, and we are quite heavy with this through various SME clinics that we do. So again, we work with different stakeholders, partners, private sectors, non-governmental organizations to even develop initiatives And we've done this successfully with even, presence of different past presidents, governors, sitting commissioners, all present, in our programs where we showcase these businesses, we give them access, we bring people to train them, capacity building. So the likes of those that are in those, women that you reference, can actually come and get the necessary skills, can be supported. We go into the market, we talk to their leaders, and we train them and we build capacity in them and we onboard them on our platform. And today they can now access, finance to, grow their businesses. That is really the key impact. And this is really why we're in business. Because again, I've talked about our mission. Our vision is actually to create the next 1 million jobs by 2027. So the only way we can do it is by impacting those grassroots
That,
operations.
that is beautiful because I believe so much in creating social impact. That's the goal. And this is something that brings me now to this question. Let's now step back a bit and look at the overall issue that we have in Nigeria, which is a lot of young individuals and even old people are leaving the country in mass. We are experiencing massive brain drain in terms of the Japa syndrome, which we call it. That's, emigration from Nigeria due to economic hardship or whatever other reason people leave. What would you really tell someone as someone who has lived, for a considerable period abroad, what would you tell someone who is venturing, you know, to a life abroad without any serious plan in terms of having a job, in terms of having, education to pursue? Would you recommend that?
Okay, so first of all, I would say that it's a good thing for people to leave. People has always left. I don't think leaving is something that is new. It's just that as we grow older, it becomes more obvious to us because people within our peers are those that are actually living. People have always been living since our great grandfather's time, you know. Um, yeah, they go, they come back. The beauty of it is that travel gives you exposure, right? And then with some of those exposures, you come back and then you know, kind of adapt those, learnings, to your various communities that you return to. However, I would also like to stress that a cat cannot just become a lion just because you jackpot. If you're a cat in Nigeria, you cannot become a lion or a tiger in the UK or in Canada or in the US. You still be a cat. So
Yeah.
people need to learn to build capacity. And the beauty of it is in developed economies, a whole lot of things are already fixed. There's already a systematic way of doing things. So there's little to no innovation that exist, in those markets. Yes, there's the chance for you to disrupt if you are very keen about doing that. But emerging market, Nigeria, Africa, still has that ability for you to be able to put up stuffs with little or no disruptions from the regulators. And by the time they start looking at you, you're a bit ready
Oh.
to face them. So I think there are a lot of opportunities. In terms of population, Africa has it. In terms of potentials for people to really work, people low. Well, again, I'm not an advocate for paying low, but again, if you look at the overall, cost per head, everything, just says that you can do more with more capital, that you get, if you are actually focused on building Africa. So I would say that people need to be able to review why they are leaving. What is the motivation? Are you leaving because you think it's going to be greener on the other side? Most times it's not greener you
Mm.
know. Um, but again, I've seen a trend of people who live with the right mindset and are still building the African economy or the Nigerian economy, if you want to streamline it down to Nigeria. So those are the kind of people we want to see having global influence, global impact, global access, but also contributing first and second or third, whichever way you want to rank it, contributing to the new environment where they are and also contributing back to Africa. I think if you go with that mindset, then you'll be able to make a difference. What you often see is people leave Africa, people leave, and then they're doing menial jobs that don't really make sense, right? I'm not against doing that, right? I always love to use myself as an example. While when I started trailing, at some point I had to, opt for driving taxi in the
Yeah.
evening just
Yeah.
to be able to augment, my income.
That's the
There's
basic life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
You
there's
gotta get
dignity
money
in every labor, right? Yeah, you can
now.
do whatever you need to do to be able to keep yourself, afloat,
Yeah.
pending when you stabilize. But it shouldn't be a standard that is Africans that has to do the menial jobs, or is some particular people that have to do the security work and some stuff. What stops you from being able to have access, where the key decisions are being made? And, I was speaking with someone recently and they went for a meeting where top leaders across North America were, and it was the only black person there.
Mm.
Meaning that black people don't think that, well, again, I don't want to use black people. Some people of color feel like they're inferior to go into those programs. Why? You can be there, you can contribute meaningfully if you are actually very interested in contributing to that new country that you are actually going to. And we as Africans, we as people of color, should actually be more interested in contributing because you are coming from a place whereby there are a lot of things that you can also add to that new society that you find yourself. So we need to reorientate ourselves. People need to know that it's not always green on the other side. And if your capacity is a cat, you cannot play as a lion or a tiger in another country. So build capacity.
Nice. And some people come as lions and turn to cats. Or is it, is it not? So the idea is this. That I like the way you have put it. So uh, it's good to grow. That's basically it, not be stuck in one place. And it's also good to look at ways to contribute back home or wherever you want to call home. And also in the society where you live to explore every opportunity that is possible. I like the way you've summed it up. And that brings me to the other side of it, which is for those who are keen or who want to say, I want to come back home to contribute something, but hey, I hear this security problem in Nigeria. I hear there's this that this is not functioning. I hear that Africa is going bust, that the economy is unstable. What would you tell that person in terms of which way to go? Is it realistic to think like that? And what are the benefits of actually jumping, or what are the challenges that might be, encountered in the process of doing this?
All right. So I would like to start with the fact that every problem creates opportunity. Once you can identify a problem, then it means that there's an opportunity. If there's no problem, then there's actually no opportunity. In fact, the best time that some countries make the best of money and resources is during war. Some make money from war. That's why they will continue to promote war. I don't want to mention names. They will continue to promote conflicts. Some make money. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Uh,
Yes.
some make the best of money when there are crises. Some
Please
people,
go on. It drags a
pandemic
little because of the
was
internet,
the best.
but it's
Huh?
all good. Mm,
Yeah. So during the pandemic was their best years, because they made a lot of
mm,
money. So once you look at it from that, point of view or from that angle, that because there's a lot of challenges, a lot of problem across Africa is what makes us us. And that is what also creates the opportunities.
mm.
You would know that if you want to return, those problems will not disappear. You're going to feel it. You're going to get to the airport, and sometimes in some airports, you're going to be hot. You're going to have to shower maybe
Yes.
5 times a day when you're back into the country, you know, but
Yeah.
it's just a period of time. You would adapt. The body, the system, everything, has been given to us to adapt. So you're going to adapt. And once you adapt, you would then be able to use your lessons. The way people work, the way I see people work abroad, in that sense, right? If you work like that in Nigeria,
Yeah.
Africa, you're going to be a billionaire. You're not going to be a millionaire. In fact, a trillionaire.
I always say that. I've always said that, because the way we work at times here, it's like morning, afternoon, night, you're on the go, 7 days in a week. And I always tell people that I have this conversation with, I've never seen anyone who works like that in Africa. That is a poor person by any standard. So this brings a good, mindset out of us. That the idea, if you are ready to put in the effort you're ready to put elsewhere in your home also, you will basically get the same result, even though it might at times be very challenging. So it's really nice that you pointed this out. And it's nice that you were able to have this conversation with me. Our internet connection is a bit dragging, so this, kind of, this part is a bit, drawn. But the idea is the communication here gets across that it's worth the trial. It's worth going back if you really have something to offer. So let's say someone wants to go back and say, I don't know where to start right now. What would you tell them? Where is the first point of call? I have a business idea. I have a product I want to sell, and I want to come back to find a way, but I don't know where I've been away for too long, because this is one of the biggest problems that people's, cite, after being a very long time, abroad, you get nervous. There's no good road. There's no security. There's no this. There's no that, and it kind of puts you off from taking that bold step, even when you have brilliant ideas. So, where would be a good starting point?
Okay, so a good starting point would be to start where you are. You don't have to move immediately. You can devote time to maybe cut down on your work abroad and just spend some time focusing on understanding the market, establish contact with support systems. We have a lot of incubators, accelerators, and even different network of people who are committed to helping you establish your business within the African or the emerging market. That can be a first play while you're still working and trying to figure it out. Play a visit, come into the region, just come and understand and see for yourself and experience it. It can be a full
Mm,
circle moment where you then know that this is actually what I'm supposed to do based on the overall experiences that you've gained. I
mm,
think that is the first step. The second step is we live in a global village right now using technology, so you don't have to be in Nigeria to be able to serve Nigerians. You can build technology and fail fast, fail forward, test the market and even see whether this problem or this perceived problem, how big is it? Is it something that
mm,
people are willing to pay for? Are they actually going to pay for it? Can I test it? Then yeah, you can then, work with different stakeholders to establish a team. Should you not want to move immediately, into it? And I'm sure if you test it for 6 months, then you can make a call whether or not it's something you need to fully be on ground for or not. Another way
mm.
that most people also do it is, and I think it gives some form of fulfillment, because again, one of the things that we as humans really long for is fulfillment. Do you want to be part
Yeah.
of a significant impact? You want to make significant impact in the lives of where you're coming from, not necessarily because you want to solve a
Mm,
problem. In that sense, right? The behind the scene is
mm,
you want to be part of something bigger than you. So again, another way that people have been able to achieve this is by actually investing in the people who are actually making the significant impact. Not all of us are born to be entrepreneurs. And the truth is,
no.
people need to understand that people are coming flashy, smiling. The depth that or the grit that goes behind the scene is not something to be joked
Yeah.
about. There are sleepless nights.
Yeah.
There are times where maybe the numbers just don't make sense. You know, if you are not ready for that mental flow, don't even try to be an entrepreneur. Just
It's
continue to
not for
be
you.
Yeah, it's not for you. Because people
Yeah.
see entrepreneurs celebrate all the wins, but a whole lot of people don't talk about the failures. A lot of people don't talk about the setbacks. Very little is being talked about in terms of those areas. So for me, I would say that, not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. You can even be a support system for those entrepreneurs. You can be an investor to those entrepreneurs. We have a lot of angel investors that are springing up. You can support them with a 1K, with a 5K, and that 5K, whether it's in pounds, whether it's in dollars, can make a whole lot of difference in whether or not a startup is surviving or not, or whether or not it even sees the daylight of an MVP, in that sense, right? So I think, people need to look at it from a holistic point of view and not just they being the ones to actually get their hands dirty, roll up their sleeves, but should you want to roll up your sleeves, then obviously be ready and start now. The best time for you to have started was yesterday. The next time is actually now. Start immediately and start testing the market and validating whether or not there's a market.
That's really beautiful. I like the way you put it. So, one key point I would take from this is know what you want, focus on it. You don't have to go the lane that someone has gone, or you don't have to go with the group. So, find a way to know what you are about. If entrepreneurship is not for you, you can always do anything, and that's the goal. And yes, well said. I really like the way you've put this, and I'm sure we can go on with this conversation for all evening. But the idea is like we try to keep this brief so that the listeners can actually grasp it. And I'm sure we're going to revisit this conversation again. And we're going to come from the point of how do we do then, in terms of bringing more investments home, in terms of also helping other people who are not Nigerians, who are not, that are very interested in the market, to tell what are the things that they should look out for. What are the challenges of doing business in that country? You know, uh, Far from what they hear in the media. Because at times, for example, like the one I mentioned earlier, the OPay, when we get information here, you are not on ground to tell the reality of this. But when it's reported that this is not working. People are storming the office, and that's it. So in your mind, when you hear that news, the scare or the it's already there.
Fake news make news.
That's
News
it.
doesn't go viral. Have you ever seen where they are celebrating someone and saying you did this and then it went viral? No. But the bad news, it goes viral.
Quickly, and people are jumping on it and making it a very big thing now, to make as much,
Yeah.
big news and going viral as possible. Yeah,
And I think in that regards, right, every stakeholder has, that doesn't mean we shouldn't call a spade, right? But every stakeholder in Africa across the emerging market has a right to ensure that we control the narrative that we push out there. If that media of OPE comes to you, we have the responsibility, the obligation to the continent, to our region, to ensure that we first fact check and validate
yeah,
before we share it to the next people. In fact, sometimes it just feels like we are all happy about the sensation. You know, there are a lot of crashes that happen across developed markets. A lot of crashes that happen. How many of them actually, hit the front burner of the media? There are a lot of
yeah,
killings, a lot of thefts, a lot of car thefts, and all that. I don't think they steal
mm,
cars in Nigeria as much as they steal in the developed world, right? I don't think so.
yeah.
I mean,
No,
of them
no.
make the headlines. I don't think there are
Yeah,
disruptions or strike of trains of all those things in the developed world the way it is. In fact, if there's a strike in Nigeria, I'm sure the president will quickly intervene, the governors will intervene. But strikes is like daily part of activities that happen in the developed world. It happens almost every day or almost every week. You know,
yeah,
People go
yeah.
about their business. But if such happens, blow it out of proportion on the media, we want to tweet, we want likes, we want follows, we want comments.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
selling us
I
cheap.
think Yeah, that's something that is really not ideal. And that's why I really say we need to learn also how to brand ourselves good. Because we are so good at shutting ourselves down. Everything doesn't work. We are not good. I live in Finland, and I know Finland is projected to be the happiest country in the world. It is by many standards, but we also have many problems, especially also towards immigrant background, also the problems around that. So it doesn't mean that there's no problem, but the idea is, how do you then brand yourself around those problems? How do you sell yourself to the world? So we want to be very, very, considerate about some of these challenges, and we will not get there in one day.
I
Nice
agree.
one. Any final words before we finish? What is one of your core advice to anyone now listening to this? What is your giveaway?
My giveaway is, let's build, the economy that we desire for our children. We hold it a responsibility to build an economy, a world that we want for our children to live in. Whether it's clean energy, whether it's automations or processes, let's build it. Let's start it today. And with that, the next generation will thank us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adeshina, for coming. We have a slight drag on the internet connection, but I'm sure the message got home somehow, and we hope with time we're able to fix all this. Thank you for coming on, and I'm sure we're gonna come back to this conversation again, and we're
All right.
gonna go there because what we try to do, especially through this platform, is also promote a lot of African entrepreneurs, African agenda, try to see the immigrant perspective of things, and somehow we have all been immigrants at one point or the other. So harnessing that and sharing the story to everyone that would find it very useful. That's the goal here. So we're gonna be revisiting this, and we're gonna find ways that we are going to bridge this gap between the continent of Africa and also everywhere else in the world, because that's the benefit of having the technology within our hands. Thank you for being available to come on the Think About It with Osita podcast. And until we have a conversation again, stay strong. And for listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this interview has been worth it, and we kind of would put more information about Adeshina, his business, on the link below, so that if anyone wants to ask more questions, it's a good way to reach out. And that's the goal, that we find ways to connect people, uh, whatever they're doing, so that they can link to the right people. Thank you so much. Until next week, stay
Thank you
strong.
very much. Thank you. Bye.
Nice.